All right, here we are painting the color wheel. Remember that you're going to be painting them after you've filled out the chart here. And remember, each of these colors is in a specific place on the color wheel. So make sure that the 1A is the 1A here, and yellow is going to be at the top for everybody. Red is going to be 1B, and 1C is going to be blue. The three primary colors go first. I've already done the yellow. You want to make them as rich and pure as possible, so less water is better for this process, for this part of it. So we don't necessarily want to wash here. To get a good, strong color, you want to load up your cake with maybe one brush load of water and just really mix it in. Remember, when you mix, you want to just gently rotate your brush in your fingers on the cake. Don't smash it around. Don't scrub at the color. You just want to rotate your brush on top of it, hydrating the pigment so that it picks it up. And you want to get it to be kind of a thicker paste rather than a thinner, more fluid thing. You don't want it to be too thin or fluid. You want it to be a little thicker, more like a paste. So it takes a little bit of time to get that. And then when you're ready, you want to make sure that you follow all the steps that you've already learned, which is to outline around the shape. I'm using the bigger brush that you can get in class, but you can use a smaller brush. It just means that you might have the outlines dry before you get to filling it in, and then those outlines might dry differently and show up differently than the colors that fill it in. So what I like to do is, as I go, I just kind of fill it in. This is still a little thinner than I would like it to be, so I would normally take a little bit more time to add more pigment to what little water I had, so it's a little thicker. So very little water, more mixing in with the dry cake so that you pick up a paste of it, and then outline it, and nice even coverage is what you're looking for, and that's why less water is good too. It's going to be more evenly applied, and it's less likely to warp the paper and then create little valleys where the water runs to, and then all the pigment kind of runs with the water and settles into that space, and it becomes darker because more pigment dries there. So you're going to do all three primaries first. I'm going to skip on to the secondaries real quick, but I should do the blue before I go to the secondaries. So that's what you should do. Do the three primaries, yellow, red, and blue. And then you're going to go on to the three secondaries, 2A, 2B, and 2C. And do them lighter to darker. The orange is probably the lightest of those three. So remember, one brush load of water and just really hydrate a lot of pigment in that little bit of water. One of the things about painting with watercolors, and any paint, you want to mix enough that you don't run out. Luckily, we already have pre-mixed orange, so we don't have to worry about having to mix yellow and red together to make our orange for this. But if we were working with any other medium and didn't have anything but the three primaries, then having enough of the color mixed up before you start painting is really important. It helps you in that you don't have to try to match that color a second or maybe even a third time if you run out in the middle of painting with it. So you want to make sure you put it in the right place. Yellow and red makes orange, and once again you want to outline first so that you get hard edges where the black outline shows, but white paper shows between the color and the no white paper shows between the color and the black outline. So I'm going to rush through this real quick because the important thing is to show you the tertiary colors, because you do have to mix two colors together for the intermediate tertiary colors, which are a combination of one primary and one of that primary secondary colors. So I'll do it with the orange since I already have orange hydrated. So once again, I would paint the three primaries first, then paint the three secondaries, make sure they go the right place, and then you want to paint the six intermediate colors. So the combination of yellow and orange is yellow-orange, combination of red and orange is red-orange, etc., going around the wheel. So these two are the parent to that one. So for this process, you want to load up your brush and you want to have enough that you don't run out. Like I said, always start with the lighter of the colors. So since I already have orange going here, I'm going to continue with orange, and I unload it onto my tray lid here. And to unload more of it, I just kind of twist my brush carefully. I don't want to squeeze it because I'll break the bristles. And I might need to mix a little bit more to have enough so that I don't run out as I do all of this. Once again, though, you don't want to make it really thin, because if it's a thin, watery pigment, it's not going to do what we want it to do for this process. So I'm just unloading my brush as much as I can here so that I have workable pigment here on my tray lid. I clean off my brush, and I'm going to go ahead and get yellow, and I'm going to mix my yellow-orange first to get my lightest of those two intermediate colors in place. Pick up clean water after you've cleaned your brush. Make sure your brush is nice and clean, and remember, the less water that you can use, the better, but you need to have enough that you can move it over to here and have enough to mix. Now, you're going to want to have more of the light color than the dark color. Okay, so I'm going to be putting my light color over here. I'm not mixing it yet. I'm just unloading it. I hydrate it. I unload my brush. Oops, I'm getting a little sloppy because I'm trying to hurry for this demonstration. Right, so I've got my tray. I can get, oops, don't want to do that. I want to get my, as much as I can onto my tray lid. I'm going to clean my brush out really well first, and then I'm going to take a little bit of the orange and mix it into a lot of the yellow until I get to something that's visually right between those two for that spot right there. All right, so a little bit of orange, the darker color, goes into the lighter color, always. And you mix it up and you take it gradually until you get to something that looks like a good visual mix. So I'm going to show you a process that I like to try. What I like to do is, after I think I've got it, I just try it right next to both of them and see how it looks. If it looks closer to one parent than the other parent on the paper here, it probably needs the opposite one, the one that looks a little bit less. And honestly, it looks more orange to me than it should with just that little bit of orange that I put in my brush. So this is what I don't want you to do, is to pick up more pigment. But in this case, I'm going to have to. Otherwise, it's not going to be a yellow-orange. It's going to be an orange-yellow, right? Closer to orange than it is to yellow. We want something that shows the primary color just as much as the intermediate. And that looks a little bit better. Okay, just that little bit helped it. And now I'm going to test it out again. And that looks good. Between the little bit of the orange-yellow that was there mixed in with the yellow-orange, helps to create something that is closer to that intermediate color that we call yellow-orange. Could be probably a little bit more yellow. I'm sorry, a little more orange. So I am going to pull a little bit more in. All right, so I want you to, do some problem solving. Don't just be satisfied with the first color that you come up with. Yeah, there we go. Right, and I'm mixing them right where it is. If it's still wet, it's mixable, and this works. You just don't want to overbrush and damage the paper. Okay, so I will do that now for all of the intermediate colors. After I've done the 3 primaries, I do the 3 secondaries, and then I do the 6 intermediates. So this next one right here is going to be more orange into the more red, I'm sorry, into the orange. So I have a lot of orange right here, so I'm just going to mix up some red and put it right into that. Red's darker than the orange, so I'm going to do it gradually. And my goal here is to make it a orange that has more red in it than that orange does. So once again, I test it, and if it feels closer to one parent than the other, I add more of the other one, and I'm going to add a little bit more red, which means I need to clean out my brush before I pick it up. Otherwise I'll contaminate my color here, and I don't want to do that. And that looks pretty good. It still looks orange, but it has more red in it, and it doesn't look like pure red. Okay, so you'll be doing that with all the parent colors, one primary and one of its secondary colors for each of the steps going around the wheel. You want to make sure you put it in the right place. Remember, once it's done, you put it on the drying rack, and after it's dry, then we're going to attach the harmony chart that we create to make them come to life. All right, so that's your color wheel. Let's do it.